and we are going to start with. I guess I'll go ahead and just start us. We're going to start with testimony from David Schenk, from Justice David Schenk, who happens to be our new nominee for the Criminal Court of Appeals. He is one of the candidates who won in the primaries for that race. So, David Schenk, welcome, and he's going to talk about judicial accountability.
Good afternoon, and thanks, everyone. Thank you for having me. I won't be long. I'm Justice David Schenk. I served for 8 years on the state's largest appellate court. I served as chairman of the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. That's the body that oversees the behavior of every judge in Texas. And I served as Deputy Attorney General for Legal Counsel under then Attorney General Abbott. I'm standing here before you today to talk to you in support of the priority of judicial accountability. I believe you've seen an effort by Jennifer Lundy and her group to support specific legislation. In the main, I support her efforts. We have some disagreements about particulars, but I want to urge you to see this as a first priority for this state. I think people around the country and in this state are seeing prosecutors declaring their own law, judges cheerleading prosecutions, misconduct, misbehavior, a lack of confidence in the judiciary. We have 3 branches of government. The most passive of them is the judiciary. It's the last place that the public can come to inquire about and get resolution of challenges to the behavior of the other 2 branches of government. And right now, far too many of our citizens are seeing that branch as co-opted, with an agenda, unfair, incompetent, and slow. And most judges, I want to tell you, because I've been responsible for all of them, are trying to do their best. We have too many, however, who are simply incapable of performing. We have some who have no business being on the bench. They have an agenda. They have a challenge. It's a small minority, but even one is too many. And the challenges we have are manifest. We are in our major cities trying to recruit people to become judges who would be taking a pay cut of a massive degree. We're simply not paying them enough. The State Conduct Commission I was responsible for had a tiny staff, small amount of budget to chase after the entire state's judiciary. And the biggest problem is it's just not structured to do the job that you and I want to see done. We have judges who are able to come before us, stall their cases. Anytime the commission makes a decision, they're able to take it before a group made up entirely of judges and something called the Court of Special Review. And I urge you to look at some of the decisions that have come out of that Court of Special Review before, during, and after my time as chairman of that commission. Judges driving drunk into telephone poles being let go. Judges not deciding cases for years on end being let go. Judges misbehaving in lots of other ways, telling people litigants before them, they want to see them die in a locked closet, being let go. Okay, the public is aware of this. We also need you to urge me and the head of the other judicial Supreme Court, the Texas Supreme Court, to fix the rules by which judges operate. A judge in this state today can pick up the phone and ask for a contribution from someone appearing before him tomorrow. The other side is not required to be told of this. I have seen this happen, I have heard of this happening, and there's nothing the Conduct Commission can do about it because it's not unethical. I believe, in fact, it is unethical, if not in law. These rules need to change. The public is losing confidence in our prosecutors and our judges, and we need to set this as a first priority. So I would like you to urge the judiciary, including myself, to amend the rules by which judges are raising money, sitting on cases involving people who have just given them money, judges reaching out to litigants, asking for money. That all needs to change. We can elect judges without compromising the confidence in the decisions they ultimately make. The Conduct Commission has got to have the ability to do its job, and it's got to inspire confidence. Its work product can't be undermined by constant series of appeals with a staff that can't handle the work that's immediately in front of them. The particulars are not necessary. The willpower to dig in and do the work is critical. And I know that you're here today because you care about this state, you care about its people, and you care about this government. And I hope that you'll join with me and others in pushing this agenda and making sure that the legislature and the judiciary is doing everything that we can to make sure that our people see the courts for what they should be, which is a place that they can go have an honest, competent, and efficient resolution of whatever their dispute might be. Does anyone have any questions?
Robert, and then we'll go Robert, and then Rick.
I have a point of parliamentary inquiry for Scott.
Yes.
So would it be germane at this time to introduce a motion on a standing rule about limiting questions from the committee members?
Yes. Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion. Yeah, of course. So I'd like to make a motion to create a standing rule that for any remaining member who's giving testimony, that we limit the questions from this committee to 2 questions, and if they do ask up to 2 questions, that they limit the question to 1 sentence each.
Right, and to clarify, that would be 1 question from 2 individuals.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any objection to that rule?
Yeah, it's banned.
Okay. All right, we will go into a vote on that rule. All in favor of limiting questions, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. Okay, I guess that fails. All right, hand vote. Okay, all in favor of limiting questions, please stand. That's 14 and 15. All right, all opposed? All right, that's 9. So it passes. Okay, so 2 questions for Justice Schenck, and I believe the first hand I saw was Rick Briscoe, and then I think the second one was Paul. So Rick, go ahead.
Your Honor, I'm no longer a member of the board.
Microphone.
But I have very little. I'm no longer a member of the bar, but I have very little, if any, remaining confidence in the competence of our courts, and in particular the Court of Criminal Appeals. They're getting decisions that are just flat out wrong.
Okay, is there a question?
And
1 sentence.
I wish you the best of luck in trying to change that.
Okay, that wasn't a question. Paul, and then we'll go to one more person.
Yes, thank you. We have a lot of things in this category. My question is, we need to kind of pick one thing that we can really push. And what would that be? You talked about the financing and, raising funds and all. I kind of get that that may be your priority, but what would be your priority? Pick one. I'm sorry, but.
Well, I believe that, as I said, the particulars on the Conduct Commission are one thing. I think that's part of the bigger problem, and I think the heart of this problem is public confidence in the fairness of its courts. And I think pushing that on the legislature, because I'll tell you, there are some of these things it's on us as judges to police our own house. And you need to tell us to do it, you need to tell the legislature to fund it, and you need to tell the legislature to propose a constitutional amendment to fix the Conduct Commission, because the makeup of the Conduct Commission is currently set by the Texas Constitution. So I don't think you want to get down into the weeds on this. I think the big picture is our judiciary needs help because our public have no place else to go.
All right, I had a question. I'm not going to count this as one of the 2, but a concern was brought up to me that the language allowing publicly available complaints on the website could open either the individuals filing the complaints or potentially other entities up to libel. Is that a possibility?
It is, but I would say right now, any complaint that is made before the Conduct Commission can be public today at the election of the person making the complaint. It is the handling of the complaint by the Conduct Commission that is confidential. So if you wanted to change this, what I would suggest to you is to tell the Conduct Commission to give the person making the complaint the option at filing to make this complaint public. If they want to, they can. Right now, they could do that. They could put it on Facebook if they want. Of course, they subject themselves to potential libel. I will tell you the pushback you'll get from the judges for whom the concern is that these current rules and makeup is there to protect this handful of bad judges that don't need to be protected, would be that when people file a complaint, they will often do it right before the filing period for public office, and then they'll file a complaint and they'll say, Judge X has a complaint filed against them. Well, the voters can work that out, right? I mean, that's part of the process.
All right. Christy, I'll go to you. Okay. Did anyone else have a question? Donna.
Can I ask him to speak to the actual verbiage that we have and tell us directly how he would amend it?
Okay, I think there's several parts to this verbiage. One is there's a lot of detail in here about how the Conduct Commission should fix itself. I think the main thing is who sits on the Conduct Commission, how long it takes them to do their work, and whether the public are going to find out what the work ultimately was. That's the Conduct Commission. Those are policy choices to be made that I think are for the legislature. That's showing up at the scene of the fire and putting out the embers and counting who started the arson. I'm more concerned about the beginning of the arson. I want better judges. I want people who are more competent to start with. I want more accountability for judges, and I want more confidence in what they do. That means to me three things. You're fair, that's not complicated. You're honest, and you're capable. We have challenges on all three of those things, and the rules need to be changed to address those. Some of those are judicial rules. The rules, the canons of judicial conduct are what the Conduct Commission enforces. The Conduct Commission doesn't write that. The judges do. The head of the Texas Supreme Court and the head of the Court of Criminal Appeals, which with your help I'll be, are the people responsible for that. I want you to put pressure on me and my colleague on the other court to say it's not okay for a judge to take money from a litigant standing in forum the day before the hearing and not tell the other side. You need to have recusal rules that say if you've taken $5,000 from somebody the day before a hearing, you should tell the other side. Perhaps you shouldn't be sitting on the case. I don't think that's controversial, and yet that's the rule today.
Thank you. And that concludes our time. Thank you so much, Justice Schenk, for coming and speaking to us, and good luck this November. All right. Going forward, I'll just call through names and see if people are here. If you're here, then please make yourself known and make your way toward the front, and we will line up. First is Kyle McKeon, Vanessa McKeon, Deborah Bame, Daniel Bame, Rachel Hale, Jackie Schlegel. I thought Rachel Hill was just here. We'll bookmark that one if she comes back in. Jackie Schlegel. Is Jackie Schlegel here? Susan Chamberlain. Justin Stanford. Jennifer Madrid. Crystal Main. Daniel, something Messer? Oh, are you Rachel? All right, you're up. And then next step beyond that is Doug Messer. Sorry, not Daniel Messer. Doug Messer.
I had a lot of nice things to say, but I'm just going to say this all really quick. Okay. As a parent advocate for Texas Education 911, I've traveled the state attending meetings with parents and writing grievances and have had a front row seat to the fraud, waste, and abuse. We have identified 3 solutions to get to the root of the problems, which are an inspector general, repealing sovereign immunity, and ending taxpayer-funded lobbying. Schools are hemorrhaging, and Texas children are in the crosshairs and can't afford for us to continue to apply Band-Aids and not actually fix the problems. There are plenty of laws on the books, however, many of them have no teeth and no enforcement. Parents can only sue if it is protected under federal law or a child is injured in a bus accident. That is it. Any other issue must go through the grievance process, get to the state school board level 3 or level 4. They aren't holding the districts accountable. Instead, they're allowing the supers to be the puppet master. For example, one grievance had video evidence proving the child did not do what he was accused of, yet the school attorney said, you don't want to set the precedent of not going against your superintendent that you hired. So the school board voted with the district. Hold on real quick. The important part that y'all have missed is the federal law. So Title IX is not being adhered to in K through 12. They've gone to the outside police force and CPS to be told, oh, that's a school issue, we can't handle it. They've gone to the Office of Civil Rights, who oversees Title IX, to be told you've got to go to TEA. TEA says, oh, we can't do anything, you've got to go to the school board. The school board says, we can't do anything because, oh, well, it might come before us eventually, and so we can't help you.
Thank you very much. And are there any questions?
Yes,
Spencer.
sir.
How do we fix the Title IX piece?
Well, we get this inspector general where it's an outside investigator that can oversee this. The process is so cumbersome. It could be 2 or 3 years before you get to the Title IX part of it, to the office, because you've got to go through all these steps. You've got to go through all of TEA's hoops before you can even get to that level.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Hill. And yeah, after you're done speaking, go over here so we can log your testimony.
And we have language on all of this to put in the plank. I think if y'all already have a
Yep.
plank up there. We have language. Thank you.
All right. Deborah Bain? Deborah Bain?
Yes.
Perfect.
Howdy. I'm advocating that you rank election reform highly. It needs to get on the top 8. America was founded on the principle of representative government. The consent of the governed is secured by accurate, legally compliant elections. You can look around at the state of our country now to see what happens when you don't have a legally valid election. United Sovereign Americans, it's a grassroots organization, measured our elections, even here in Texas, and we found them lacking accuracy, legal compliance, and transparency. United Sovereign Americans does have a winnable strategy for the 2024 election, not merely for a single county or state, but for our country as a whole. We're now working in 24 states representing 339 electoral college votes. Our voting system is broken. Americans must unite and demand a legally valid 2024 election or risk losing our unique system of justice and liberty forever. Thank you.
Are there any questions? All right. Thank you so much. And next up is Daniel Bain?
Yes, sir.
All right.
1 minute. Yes, sir. I'm also speaking on election integrity and desire to be in the top 8. The reason being is the voter rolls must be accurate. That's the National Voter Registration Act of 1993. Votes counted must be from eligible voters. It's U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 2. The number of votes counted must equal the number of votes who voted. There can be no more than 125,000 ballots in error by the voting system. Help America Vote Act, 2002. In the Texas election of 2022, that would have meant only 65 votes could have been in error. In Texas, we had 196,425. We presented this stuff to the Secretary of State. We presented it to law enforcement, FBI, everybody. Nobody came back. All we're asking is that they follow the black letter law. Thank you.
All right. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Go see the secretary.
All right. Okay. Couple quick announcements real fast.
Y'all been emailed this, by the way.
Couple quick announcements real fast. So our parliamentarian, Stephen Bolin, is going to be coming around to hand out your badges so that you don't have to go through registration. You get to save a little time there and spend it here working on LPs. But when you do that, you will need to take out a photo ID and show it to them, just like you would at registration. Other announcement is, once again, please make sure if you're using your mics are on, and they need to stay on all the time. Do not ever turn them off, because you turn off your entire row if you turn yours off. Anyway, with that, Doug Messer.
Thank you. I'm Doug Messer, SD 31, and I'm representing the Convention of States. Folks, this is a legislative priority. This is a citizenship, duty, honor, and country priority. That's the bottom line. I'm an Army guy, 25 years. 48 years working for the Department of Defense total, in and out of uniform. And I've been all over the world, over 30 countries, served and worked and been on missions and lived in 7 different states. Moved back to Amarillo, which is my home place. Folks, the rest of the world is looking at us. Our great country, the United States of America, the Republic of Texas, and everything that we say and do. They follow us. This is an important insurance policy. Article 5 is our insurance policy for what's yet to come, no matter who wins. Sure, I'm for the right guy next year, but no matter who wins, we still have to have an insurance policy in place.
This way, sir.
This way. All right. Okay. There's Shelby Chamberlain. Who is that? Justin Stanford. Okay, Justin Stanford. Is Jennifer Madrid here? Jennifer Madrid, Crystal Main, Lenia Hartunian, Javier Hoven, Ken Moore, Tracy Shannon. All right, that's enough names for now. Go ahead.
Good day. Thank you very much for doing y'all's jobs. I know it's very hard. My name is Shelby Susan Chamberlain. I am from Senate District 1, House District 7. I am a precinct chair on top of everything else, so I know what I'm talking about, okay, you guys? Anyway, conventions and states is what I'm talking about, and it being a legislative priority. And the one reason why it is a legislative priority is because we need to either extend or rescind the sunset clause that comes up in 2025 on convention estates. It is already in legislation, so we already have that done. We just need the sunset clause, like I said, to either be extended or removed. We need to have this on legislative priorities. We do have it on platform, and we just need both of them to work together to help us get things done. I don't know really what else to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
She said it's on the platform. Was it added back on the platform? Does anybody know?
Yes, sir. It was added back on.
All right.
All right, Justin Stanford.
My name is Justin Stanford, SD21. Oh, sorry. SD21. I would encourage y'all, members of the committee, to have abolish abortion as the top priority and as our duty to God, and encourage the representatives of our state, their duty before God as well. Thank you.
Crystal Main.
This is Crystal. My name's Crystal Main from SD9, and I just found out I only have a minute instead of 3. One, I want to encourage y'all to keep casinos on the top of the list. I know that one of in particular, Irving City Council is already drooling over the fact that they are hoping to get a casino there, and there are developers there that are buying land and keeping it specifically with the intent that there will be casinos there. There's a lot of money. Abbott, Patrick, a lot of these runoff races are all taking tons of money from the Sands casinos. So it's influencing our elections a lot. So that is extremely important. Really quick, I am against school choice. I was a former homeschooler. My daughter went to homeschool. She went to private school. She went to charter school, and in the end, she ended up in public school. Long story, but I used to support school choice, but after digging into it and looking at the bills that they have tried to pass over the last 2 legislative sessions, they all had, the first one, they were giving money away, and you're going to have strings attached, always.
Could you see the second? A question from Rick Briscoe.
Yes, ma'am. Are you aware that our Constitution already prohibits casino gambling, and so a statute is completely unnecessary?
I want to make sure that it remains there and that they don't, I would say that the lottery and a lot of these other things that are being allowed are.
It takes a 2/3 majority to change our Constitution. That's 100 votes in
Okay,
the House.
this is a statement that's out of order.
Well,
Are there any other questions
it's
for
a preface to the question.
Okay, you
Are you
can't do
aware it's
prefer-
more difficult to change the Constitution than a statute?
Okay. Spencer Rolsma.
Ma'am, back here in the back corner, were you aware that it already passed the House last time with over 100 votes?
You're talking about casinos?
Yes, ma'am, and sports betting?
Yes, I am aware. Well, I don't think it got all the way through. I think it passed the House, it didn't make it through the Senate. So we want to stop it, and we know that a lot of our, like I said, Abbott and Patrick, they're all taking money. They're all bought and paid for. And yes, I am aware. And I'm also aware of what it will do to the cities that, I used to live in Irving, I still have friends in Irving, and they are all extremely concerned about the effect that it will have.
Thank you. Okay, is Lenny Hartooni in here? Javier Hoven? Ken Moore? Tracy Shannon? Chris Russo? I can't figure out who Huggins is. I think Huggins already testified. Chris Russo? Someone from SC12 named Diane at Precision Travel. Is she here? She didn't leave a name. Mary Caldwell. Mary Caldwell. Kara Latimer. Kara Latimer. Susan Hamilton. She already testified. Jacqueline Hall. Jacqueline Hall. John McLeon. All right, you're up next. At long last. Yeah, is Ann Pennington here? Richard McLeon. All right, you're up next. James Buchanan. Mary Caldwell. Elise Eaton. Gail Stannert. Robert Garza. Doug Messer, you just testified. Robert Canwright. 25. Didn't leave a name. TFRC at AOL.com. I don't know who you are. Okay, Rick Green already testified. Carolat. Oh, who is that? Oh, okay. Come on. All right. John P. at Cooper.net or Copper.net. Marianne Jackson. All right, you're in line also. Tracy Haynes already testified. Adam Huggins already testified. Okay, that's enough for now.
Good afternoon. My name is John McLeon. I currently serve as a staff sergeant on Operation Lone Star in Eagle Pass, Texas, where I've been doing that for the last 3 years. I would like to testify in support of the need for a Texas Homeland Security Division and State Border Patrol. I have interacted with thousands of illegal immigrants, and many of them had destinations within Texas. The vast majority of them surrendered themselves to us because they know the Guard has zero legal authority to arrest, detain, or turn them back to Mexico. Cartels have used these people as cover to move tons of deadly drugs into Texas, destroying millions of dollars of property in the process and putting the safety of border residents at risk. High-speed chases on Highway 90 and 277 are a weekly occurrence, and several times I have come close to hitting illegals running across the highway at night. Many Texans are afraid to go out on their own properties without carrying an AR-15 for protection, and most don't call the police anymore because more often than not, they don't show up. The biggest problem is that there are not enough officers to handle the volume of traffic. By some estimates, federal, state, and local law enforcement apprehends less than half of all traffic coming across the border. This issue extends far beyond the Rio Grande. Last year, the DEA busted a meth lab in Tyler that was operated by the Jalisco New Generation cartel, and Houston consistently ranks #1 for cartel-fueled sex trafficking. Rooting out these networks is just as important as building a border wall. Our best hope is that Donald Trump will come back and secure the border, but the next Democrat president will just open it up again. We need a state Homeland Security agency that will crack down on cartels within the state, and a state border patrol that will keep them out. If you have any questions of me, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions? Teresa.
I want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've seen. Please tell us what you need.
We need a border patrol. DPS, they're the highway patrol. They didn't join to be the border patrol. We need a state border patrol. A lot of the BP agents I've interacted with, they want to do their job, but with the current administration, they can't. And I know that with another Democrat administration, it's going to go back the same way it is right now. So we need a state border patrol.
So I actually have a question. The HB 20, are you familiar with that?
Is that the border protection unit? That
Yes.
they
So
passed?
would that have accomplished what you're asking for?
So if HB 20 is the one I'm thinking of, that would put the border protection unit under DPS. No. DPS, they're the highway patrol. You have to police the border a completely different way. You have to track people. You have to go out and find people. I know agents that have tracked people for days, and that's just not how the highway patrol works. They do traffic enforcement, crashes, tickets, things like that. The border is a completely different beast, and we need its own separate law enforcement agency.
Okay, thank you. That's good feedback. Paul.
Is this different than the Texas Guard, not the National Guard, but the Texas Guard?
So the Texas Guard, Texas Military Department is broken into the Army National Guard, Air National Guard, and Texas State Guard. The Texas Guard as a whole, the Texas Military Department, has zero legal authority on the border. Unless you are physically with a law enforcement officer, you cannot make an apprehension. I've come into contact with probably 20,000 legal immigrants over the last 3 years, and 99% of them I turned over to Border Patrol, and they were released into the country.
All right. Thank you so much for coming, and please check in over here so we can log your testimony. All right. Yeah. Next is Susan Hamilton.
You have 1 minute.
Hello, my name is Susan Hamilton with SD1. I'd like to thank everybody on the committee for your service, and I stand in support of Convention of States. And I want to talk about some of the objections that I've been hearing. Rod Nadelson, the nation's leading attorney 5 expert, wrote the law of Article 5 using previous interstate conventions of states. The extent of the power of Congress is to name the time and place. And the interstate conventions set the rules, limit the topics of conversation. Each state sends its own representative, and each state is able to cast one vote no matter the size of the population. Hillary Clinton made a video stating that she opposes COS. She stated that the convention wants to place limits on the second, or wants to, with no limits on the Second Amendment, it would stand as written. Since Common Cause, Planned Parenthood, and LaRaza spout the same objections as opposition, I'm left to wonder if perhaps they are the Trojan horse to our party. In my opinion, there's a lot of fear-mongering by groups that purport to, by and large, hold the same values as our organizations, and we don't sell fear, we just sell a solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Could
you go see the secretary, please?
All right. Justin McLeon.
Howdy, my name is Richard McLeon. I also work on OLS. I have for about 3 years now. I'm going to tell you a little bit what we see on the ground down there. We have hundreds to thousands of groups of illegals crossing regularly. I've seen groups of 4,000 at a time sometimes. At best, DPS may come by and they'll get a criminal trespassing charge, and that'll be about it. Other than that, they'll be released into the United States. Even if they catch a charge, they're still going to be released in the United States. My main concern is that we don't have the authority to stop them at the river. Because once those illegals get in here, I think I saw Washington Examiner estimated back in October that over 10 million illegal aliens have entered the country. If just 1 in 10 of those, so 10 million, have a child that is born in the United States, that child will be a U.S. citizen. That citizen will be able to vote in 18 to 20 years. We will not win elections past 2040 if we allow this to happen. We need a force that has the authority and the specialization to stop them at the river, or else we'll suffer the consequences in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. John Bolgiano.
My name is John Bolgiano from Llano County in Senate District 24. First off, I'd like to thank the committee for the long hours they put in assembling this very fine list of important issues. Most of these are very Texas-specific, Texas-centric. There are, however, a few issues you've made priorities, which have a common thread running through them. That common thread is federal interference, and with a multitude of agencies and unaccountable bureaucrats, that thread has tied a Gordian knot around the state of Texas. Texas independence can cut that knot. I would respectfully request that you consider restoring a referendum on Texas independence to the list of legislative priorities. Thank you.
All right, Ann Newman.
Ann Newman, Senate District 25. I'm here to talk about Plank 104. I have covered, testified about education issues for over 35 years. I like to look at root causes. I believe the root cause of all the problems in Texas schools are lack of transparency, lack of accountability, violation of laws, unenforcement of laws. And I will tell you, every child in public school is in danger now. There's not a week that goes by that I don't read about sexual abuse of a child, and that's the ones we know about. Laws are not enforced. Superintendents and principals are not reporting to law enforcement, and there's a state jail felony for failure to report. It's not being done. There are gaping loopholes in the law, the enforcement of law. I urge you to make creation of an Office of Inspector General for Education to try to investigate independently these cases and all abuse in school, physical abuse also. If we can spend $1.1 billion on the board or on school safety, surely we can protect children in public schools.
All right, Gail Stannert.
My name is Gail Stannart. I am SREC from SD 15. My colleague, Rolando Garcia, is here. You've heard from him. He's articulate. I am not. I am here on behalf of banning taxpayer-funded lobbying and everything else that you want to do and everything you're going to pass this week can be helped along by banning taxpayer-funded lobbying. The taxpayer-funded lobbyists are downgrading the legislators that we send, and everything is, and they are not transparent. They are able to use their funds and not tell us about it. Everybody in this room knows that candidates, Republican women's clubs, elected officials have to fill out all this TEC report stuff. You should see the little bitty tiny bit of information you get on lobbyists. We have got to pass this if we want to continue to pass everything that you want to do. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann from Senate District 7, and I'm here to ask you to please, in the ranking of the priorities, to move up the sexualization and gender ideology. Former teacher, I have been in the Education Committee and in this room back and forth, and believe me, guys, this whole, I believe in school choice. We have school choice right now. I can send my kids without government intervention to all sorts of places. But right now, we're getting ready. In the Education Committee, they took and we added with strings, and they keep taking it out. So I don't know who trusts Abbott. Abbott let our schools get destroyed. I knew from the inside what was going on. I have friends that work in the schools, and we take away the discipline, we take away all the things that people can do, put the funding, make the schools better by withholding their funding. They'll behave. So I just really encourage you to raise up What the parts we don't like is that sexualization of our children. And I'm here to defend the children, the other 80 to 90% that will not be able to escape any amount of money. They don't even have parents at their houses. So, I worked in inner city Houston ISD, and I'm telling you, it is bad for our schools, but the whole school choice thing is a phony thing. Thank you.
And questions? Questions? Okay.
Any
Question for Jeff Russell.
So when you look at our public schools, whether it's sexualization or discipline or what's the number one thing that the legislature could do or that we could do in our school districts if it's at the local level? What's the one most important thing that we could do to help fix it?
Focus on the academics, the reading, writing, and math. We've added so much to the curriculum. I was teaching in the 1980s, and that's when they brought in the character education in Houston ISD. So I would highly recommend, that is where they put in the social emotional learning, the diversity, equity, all the things that we do not want has been included. And you know what's makes me so frustrated? It's in our TEKS, it's in the curriculum. So it's our Republican legislators that have added this stuff in. TEA, we wear this little badge, fired Mike Morath. Who would think the leader of our school system would get to stay year after year when things have gotten worse and worse? Why isn't anybody asking, for him to step down? I don't understand that. Did that answer your question? We've added so much. And the basics, in the technology, my friends that are still teaching, they will share that, the kids.
I think this. We need to either take one more question or go to the next person. Is there any other question? All right. Thank you for your time. All right. Next is Jackie Schlegel.
Hello, I'm Jackie Schlegel, SD22, and I am here in support of medical freedom. Thank you to the 15 different people who gave me a panic attack, texting me, telling me to get up here and testify. I apologize for being downstairs, setting up a booth. I'm going to keep this short and sweet and tell you this. I've been here the last 10 years advocating for medical freedom. When I first stepped foot in this room 10 years ago, that was a concept that nobody understood, and reluctantly it got put in the platform. Fast forward to COVID, and I was honestly quite thrilled. I had the opportunity then to present to you the issues I have been living for 23 years, and that is the very real threat that the government and your private employers can force you to take a vaccine against your will. They can fire you, they can terminate you, and they can even ban you from going into the community and providing for your family or just going to the grocery store if you're not up to date on vaccines. That is not okay. Friends, I have worked incredibly hard the last 2.5 years. I worked with Texans for Medical Freedom to pass the ban on COVID vaccine mandates, which was signed into law by Governor Abbott in November. Our work is not done. If you don't think the government should be able to force you to have a COVID vaccine, I really hope you will stand with me and say they cannot force you to have any vaccine. I urge you to keep medical freedom at the forefront of the Republican Party, because we are just one more pandemic away from your rights being taken away. Stop by and also see me at the Texans for Medical Freedom booth. Thank you. And I'm happy to take questions. Anyone?
All right, thank you so much for coming. I think Devi has a question.
So Jackie, can you just verify that right now, even with the COVID vaccine, we haven't fully closed that? Isn't it that college students, is it public or private or both?
Okay, SB 7 was an incredible bill. This prevents any employer from mandating a COVID vaccine. This is private, public, universities cannot mandate that vaccine, but it's only applicable to COVID. I still have doctors and nurses being fired for things like the flu shot. We still have access to care where parents are getting kicked out of pediatricians for not giving their kid every one of the 78 doses of vaccines on the childhood schedule. Y'all, again, I'm just going to urge you, this is not about being anti-vaccine. This is your right to make these medical decisions for yourself, and I need your back when I go into Austin to fight for your medical freedom.
I have a question.
All right,
Can I ask
Rhonda.
a question? Yes, on your thing, I'm 100% with you. Is medical freedom, if we word it like that, is that going to include what you're looking for, or do we actually have to put vaccine in it? Because medical freedom is a whole lot bigger thing.
It certainly is, and I focus heavily on the vaccine issue, but there are issues of informed consent, medical privacy, but yes, I do believe a broad statement of support of medical freedom includes that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your
Thank
time,
you.
and please check in over here. Next up to speak is George Borrego.
Good afternoon. My name is George Borrego. I'm the K-12 Policy Director at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and I'm here strongly advocating in favor of school choice. I would like to start off by saying that the right to choose the education for your child is a God-given right. And currently, we have millions of students in failed government-ran schools and are trapped with nowhere else to go. Outside of that, we also have those who are attending private schools who are making substantial financial sacrifices in order to keep their students in a good education that aligns with their values. The last bill from the last legislative session would have been the most expansive and most protected program in the country in terms of your legal and religious freedoms. Over 25 years of studies have shown that ESAs help both communities and students thrive by achieving higher reading and math scores, accelerated learning, decreased absences, and higher graduation rates. That's basically it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions on educational freedom or any school choice.
Yes, Janera?
Yes, thank you. You said the bill last year was the most expansive. What was that bill?
That would have been HB1 from, at least the school choice component of HB1 from the fourth session. And it most expansive in the terms of it would have been universal.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you so much for coming, and please check in over here.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'll go ahead and say at this time, is there anyone else who is still waiting to testify, who has signed up and has not already spoken? Okay, can you please make your way over here? And this is the last call.
Mr. Chairman, are you saying has not already spoken today or has not spoken ever?
At all, at all. But before the committee, this convention.
Ready?
Yes, go ahead. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
Sorry?
Introduce yourself.
Oh.
Scott, I have a point of
My name
information.
is Diane Kelly, and I'm in SD 12. I want to bring up something that was discussed early on with this committee. I'm not sure how it happened, but there was a resolution submitted for to repeal 43.007, which is county-wide voting. It didn't make the list here. Y'all took a vote and said that you did not want to include it. And I'm here to speak to you. If there's any chance that y'all can please revisit this issue, it is so critical. I live in Dallas County. There are 96 counties in Texas that are currently using countywide voting. We're one of them. I don't know all the counties, but I'm going to guess that they're all the large counties. It impacts all of you as well, okay? But not only that, there's a conflict with the law, because this is Texas Election Code 12001. voting system standards. A voting system may not be used in an election unless the system preserves the secrecy of the ballot. Are you aware when you have countywide, what? I'm sorry. Whoa, wait, they had 3 minutes. Countywide voting, your vote can be revealed. You are unmasked, okay? Our primary, we had over 200,000 people vote. 20,000 people can be identified who they vote for, who they voted for, and how they voted on the propositions. We are pleading with you. This is so significant. One of the most significant parts of election integrity. I beg you, please put it in.
That's time.
Thank you. Oh, any questions? What'd you say?
Everybody only got 1 minute.
Oh,
Yeah. So
I didn't hear that. I was 3 minutes yesterday, so I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any questions?
no questions. And we are, unfortunately, like seeing the number of people left to testify, we are going to be very strict about the time limits going forward. So with that, Chris Milton.
Hello, my name is Chris Milton. I'm with Dallas County, and I wanted to come up here and speak on the Let Texas Run Texas. I was very encouraged to see that actually added on, and I think it's a great short-term proposal for some of our issues here as far as sovereignty of Texas being assaulted or neglected on a daily basis by our federal government. I wanted to ask, though, if it would be possible to perhaps amend or add on to it for us to have the Texas Independence Referendum Act considered and added on to that, so that that could be a good long-term solution to our federal problems. As we know, our problems with the federal government when it comes to our sovereignty are just one election away, and I think that that would actually be a cause for reflection for our national government. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Scott Hommel.
Hi, and thank you for getting to me for this 1 minute. 2 years ago, I sat exactly where you're sitting. If you could do me a favor, everybody in this room, please take a look at the picture up here. None of that means anything until we have closed primaries and election integrity in the state of Texas. We complained why things weren't happening. Well, there's why. How many of you, by raising hands, want to get rid of rhinos in our state? Close the primaries. That's the first step, and that's the first role of getting this done. If we close the primaries in the state of Texas after this current election, what do? We eliminate every dead voter in the state of Texas because we clean the voter registration. Everybody's going to be required to go back in and register of one of the 5 parties. You've done your job. You protect this. You want no more Democrat chairs? Then stop electing rhinos. You want to eliminate property taxes. You want to harden the grid. You want school choice. You want all this. Get rid of the rhinos. Close the primaries. And that is also another reason why we have to also extend this real quick. We have to do whatever we can to hold every elected official accountable to the legislative priorities, platform, and rules. If not, why do we do this? Let's just do it like the Democrats, go party and get nothing done. Okay, we can do this. You can do this. Close the primaries. That makes all of those good priorities.
Thank you. Next is Cordelia Lewis.
No,
Gilda Bygon.
Oh, Gilda Bygon, yeah.
Hi, I'm Gilda Bygon. I'm a precinct chair, 178 in Houston, Texas, and I'm here as a volunteer. I'm not a lobbyist. I'm representing my constituents. I became a precinct chair in October 2022. I immediately started calling the people that Russ Long gave me the list of identified Republicans, and I was shocked by how many people told me they were no longer Republican. Why? Because we're not focused on the things that matter to them. I asked them, what matters to you? It's the things that all these people have been telling you to focus on: the border, security, election integrity, education, judicial accountability, crime, inflation. Those are the things that matter to voters. Nobody told me that they wanted stricter abortion laws. Every time we talk about abortion, we are putting gas in the tank of the Democrats. That's their one winning issue. I'm up here begging you not to make it one of our priorities. We've already won on this. What are we pushing for? One of my colleagues was in the health, I think it was the health committee. There was a guy in there saying, make morning after pills illegal and prosecute anybody who uses them as for murder. Murder. What are we going to do? We're going to stone women next? We're becoming a theocracy like Iran. I have a question.
All right, Johan.
Do you believe that a child in the womb is a human being?
You know what? It doesn't matter what I believe. What matters is what the people out there believe and what they're going to vote for. And if we lose this election, I want you all to think about the reality of what this country will become. 4 more years of Democrat.
All right, this answer is non-responsive to the
sorry.
question. Are there any further questions? Spencer Rolsma.
Anybody else?
Do you believe it matters what God believes in us, or do you think it just matters to win elections?
Again, I don't think what my personal belief is what matters. We're a democracy, not a theocracy. Iran is a theocracy. We're supposed to represent everybody. So my personal belief is irrelevant.
All right, thank you. Please check in with the secretary to have your response logged. Next is Cordelia Lewis. Ewing, sorry.
Hi, Cordelia Ewing, SD 15, Precinct Chair 330, licensed health and insurance advisor in 26 states. Let's change the language away from divisive abortion and focus on pro-birth. Young pregnant women call me to get insurance and are crushed to find out that it's a pre-existing condition and they can't get it on private plans. Obamacare in Texas has no pregnancy exception to sign up. So if it's not open enrollment, they are out of luck. Also, on Obamacare, the illegal aliens are signing up and getting free deliveries, signing into Texas Medicaid at hospitals in Texas. That was not voted on by the legislature, but it is happening. And it wasn't approved. Meanwhile, young Texans working for small companies or themselves have no affordable maternity insurance options. And I could give you information on how much these things can cost. Let's refocus on being pro-birth and finding solutions instead of an issue that divides us. I think 90% of Texans would agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? All right, seeing none. Next up, we'll break the line just a bit. Chris Bird is about to go back to, I think, be called up to testify in the Rules Committee. So we want to give him a chance to do that real fast first. Chris Bird.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Bird, SREC, SD 25. Some of y'all, I think maybe all of you at this point may have been handed out this brochure, and it contains some modified language from what had been contemplated before. But I wanted to make a comment about what has been proposed as Plank 104. Some of y'all may be familiar with the fact that 1 Corinthians 13:6, commonly known as the love chapter, actually has in it, love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. Why would I mention that in this context? Delighting means to do nothing. Delighting means to call evil good. Delighting means to ignore. Delighting means to stick your head in the sand. Delighting means to harden your heart, close your ears, pretend something hasn't happened, that sort of thing. In fact, Dietrich Bonhoeffer actually said, to not speak is to speak, and to not act is to act. So I can tell you, as a litigator, I get drug into situations time and time again where school districts are just simply indifferent to what's going on in the outcry. Do I need to stop, or is it an invitation? I'll wrap it up real quick. I want to ask you to reconsider this as a legislative priority in the top 15, because parents have no remedy. This will begin the conversations that are very needed so that we can begin to level the playing field and have some accountability and restore the right to be heard in this context. And this entire body is here this whole week because we all enjoy collectively the right to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeff Russell has a quick question.
I'm just confused as to what you're asking us to do.
Who said that?
All of us.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I think this came up yesterday. There was a preliminary vote. Not too sure what you might call that, but I'm asking you to reconsider your vote and to reconsider.
On what item?
on what's been called Plank 104.
What is Plank 104?
What issue? Is this the Inspector General?
Yeah, this is the Inspector General, I'm sorry.
For education.
For education, I'm very sorry. That's why I gave you the preface of this being in front of you, but yes, that's what it's about. Yes, sir, thank you.
All right. Yes, if you could go talk to the secretary to make sure your testimony is logged in. And next up is Michelle Burchard.
Thank you, Michelle Bouchard, SD 15, Harris County. I speak for the majority of registered Texan voters, unlike many of the paid lobbyists I have heard here. The election this November is the most pivotal in American history. Our country is deteriorating in front of our eyes. We must save this nation or lose it. We must win or else. What will remain if we lose and Democrats keep control for 4 more years? If you're pro-life, America will have elective abortion at all months. We have no borders. Millions of illegals flood our country. They displace our citizens, and we give them food, shelter, and medical care that is unavailable to legal immigrants and American citizens. The U.S. military is weak. We are failing as a global power. If we are to win the majority of the vote this fall, we must focus on those issues that the majority of voters care about. Why is Republican voter turnout so low? Every poll says that Republican Party is losing voters because we haven't been focused on the issues most important to Americans: the border, the economy, crime. Instead, we continue to talk about abortion, the only issue on which Democrats win. Even though Texas now has the strictest laws on abortion in the nation, we are in the fight of our lives, friends, and I implore you to remove abortion from the platform altogether. Those who would put their religious convictions ahead of the welfare of the country and the lives of our children in harm's way now might win here in San Antonio, but all of us will lose in November. Republicans want Republicans to win elections. What party do you belong to?
Okay, that's time.
I have a question.
Question from Rolando Garcia and then Spencer Brolsma.
Hey, Rolando.
Hi. So you are asking us to remove all abortion-related planks from the platform?
I am.
All right, Spencer.
Are you aware that President Trump said that he wants this to be handled at the state level, and that's all we're asking for? We're not asking for Congress to do this. We're asking for our state legislature to do this.
It's already in the state legislature. The law is the law, and I abide by the law, and I respect the law. So I don't understand what your question is.
Okay, that concludes questions. Thank you. Next is Craig Licardi. Oh, wait. Okay, sorry. What is your name? Celine Rodriguez, then Craig Licardi. All right. Celine Rodriguez.
I'm representing the Texas Public Policy Foundation. If you don't know who we are the largest state-based think tank in the nation. I'm the campaign director for our Secure and Sovereign Texas Initiative, which seeks state solutions for border security. You just heard 2 soldiers tell you about the need for a type of border force, and that is exactly what we are calling for. We have created a doctrine on just how to create that last session that started with House Bill 20 by Representative Schaefer. We are seeking to really fix that bill and make it something we can actually implement. I ask that you all look into TPPF and what we're doing, because last year when this type of legislation was heard in committee, 5 people showed up to testify in favor of it, and over 150 people showed up to testify against it. If you want border security, which should be the #1 issue because nothing else matters if we don't have a country, please come to talk to me afterwards. I'll tell you how you can get involved and what all of our legislative priorities are as far as border security and securing our homeland.
All right, we do have a question. Jeff
2
Frazier.
seconds. Have y'all checked out and are working with Representative Guillen's office on what they filed in the special sessions?
Yes,
to that
thank
end?
you.
Okay.
We actually work very closely with Chairman Guillen. We are helping on the Texas Homeland Security Division and helping them draft a border force bill as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Other way. Yeah. All right, James Bernardo.
No, Craig.
Okay, Craig Licardi.
Thanks. Appreciate it. My name is Craig Licardi from Senate District 1. Speaking of accountability of elected officials, now we know that session after session, we got a hard time getting the work that you guys put together, the legislative priorities, passed into law. It's because there's too many Republicrats who don't know if they're donkeys or elephants. We're the employers that hire these electeds at the ballot box. And when they end up being trans Republicans, or more appropriately, Judas Republicans, we need a way to hold them accountable. Now, every session, these folks are chronically derelict in supporting our party principles and priorities, or worse, they actively work to undermine them. And we've got the Rule 44 censure, And I love it. It's a great tool. I was honored to write some of the teeth that got put into it 4 years ago. As good as it is, Rule 44 is not enough. We need a process that's more agile and can be quickly put into effect. What I'm talking about is establishing a process for a recall election in Texas. Now, follow my thinking before you say that'll never happen. We thought closed primaries wouldn't happen. We thought open carry wouldn't happen. We thought overturning Roe versus Wade, praise God, wouldn't happen, but it did. I could go on. But look, we're the employer, and we hire them. We need to be able to hold them accountable. We've had ledge priorities for a number of years, and sometimes things come up over and over and over until it gets stuck in the mind of the elected officials and it finally gets done. So we need to keep pounding the drum of it, and eventually we'll get a recall process. Thanks.
All right, do we have a question?
Questions?
All right, thank you so much for your time. Next is James Penato.
You got it. Thank you. Howdy, my name is James Bainaldo. I'm the chair for the Republican Liberty Caucus of Texas, and we're asking this body to please consider making Defend the Guard a top 8 legislative priority. We had submitted some of the committee members, but in case you've not heard, Defend the Guard is state-based legislation where we're asking the state legislature to pass a law that would prohibit the national government to mobilize our Texas National Guard into a combat zone unless first preceded by getting a formal declaration of war passed through Congress and signed by the president. This legislative priority would check several different boxes all at once, and so if you're trying to look for the perfect priority that checks a box for securing the border, we saw that standoff between Abbott and Biden over who has sovereignty over our National Guard and where they should be deployed. This checks a box for supporting our troops. We have more than 22 veteran suicides a day, and we know that this issue is an issue that a lot of people, independents, are looking for a party to call home. They're looking to which is the America First Party, which is the one that sincerely cares about our troops and does not want to get our country into any more unconstitutional wars abroad. This is state-based legislation, so this is legislation that our Texas legislature could take care of. So I ask you to put it up at the top.
All right, Rolando, and then Jeff.
Was this issue on the primary ballot?
Thank you, sir. And thanks to the SREC, the Texas GOP put it on ballot proposition number 6, and it passed with 84% of the Texas Republican voters, so it has strong voter support. And articles like Task and Purpose, Zero Hedge, Antiwar.com, and many other independent institutions picked up the news about passage of Defend the Guard on the ballot props.
Jeff.
Just ask if you could stick around afterwards and talk to me. I worked this bill in the committee when it was brought up, and I'll discuss it with you later. We don't have a lot of time right now, so
Sure.
I will discuss
And I
that.
did send language in just as a suggestion for what you could add with it, but the title would be Defend the Guard if you included it. I'll speak to you later.
All right, thank you, James.
Thank you very much, committee. Yep, I'll go that way.
Corey Bean.
Hello, my name is Corey Bing. I'm here to plead with you to make abolishing abortion the #1 priority whenever you go for your vote. I'll remind our friends that the preamble of our own platform starts by saying, affirming our belief in God, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and the first of these is life. We have revelation from God. He tells us what's right and what's wrong. In Proverbs 6, he tells us that he hates hands that shed innocent blood. And for 5 decades, we've been telling people that it's okay to murder children in the womb. We are finally getting some traction into making abortion illegal. And we have had multiple people come up here and try to tell us that we should take it completely off the platform. We have blood guiltiness on our hands. We have the ability to affect change here in Texas. We have the ability to tell people in the United States that we don't tolerate that in Texas. So I urge you to please stand for the preborn. Please vote to make abolishing abortion the top priority this year so that we can have the momentum we need to go in and make proper legislation. Thank you.
All right. Question from
Hi,
ahead.
Janera Lewis, SD27. Sir, do you believe that the Republican Party is losing votes because of our our strict abortion policies? And if we continue to strengthen them, that we will also continue to lose voters?
I think we're losing voters because they're seeing how corrupt our politicians are. I'll give you one example. We have our current speaker running on the platform that he's abolished abortion in Texas. We've had more self-managed abortions happen in the state of Texas, and it's perfectly legal. So he's lying to the state of Texas, and we have more people, I think, leaving because they're tired of that.
All right, the second question goes to Davis Ford.
Yes, hi there. At what point is your sex set, your blood type set, your hair color set, your general build set, all those sorts of genetic things, at what point in time in a person's physical gestation are those things set?
Well, you're genetically you're genetically different as a new being at fertilization. So I would say that the genetic code is set at that point. But I would also say that that should not determine when worth should be applied. Worth as a created image of God should be applied at fertilization.
Thank you. And what was our next? Susan Lamb, welcome.
No worries. Hi, my name is Susan Lamb. I'm from SD27, and I'm here speaking to you on behalf of those that are out of the womb, our children. At the age of 5, I was sexually molested, and I was sexually molested until age 12. I am imploring you to do something about the pedophile problem that we have within our school system. I have dealt with and am now victorious over living through sexual abuse as a child that set me up to be raped as a college student. You do not understand the ramifications that happen due to sexual abuse at an early age. We need to have sovereign immunity removed from our schools. We need to stop self-regulation in school districts. We need someone to come in and advocate for those children who are like me, that could not stand up and speak for themselves, and have someone advocate for them. Please, please, if we're going to be the party that advocates within the womb, we need to do so without of the womb as well. Does anyone have any questions?
Are there any questions? All right.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for coming. Next up is Ruth Soyson.
I'm Ruth Soyson from SD. I'm a delegate for SD11. No matter what your party affiliations, Texans know that government is broken. Think about our national debt. Think about all the unelected bureaucrats in D.C. and all of the elderly congressmen who have no term limits. Thankfully, our founders gave the states the power to make amendments to the U.S. Constitution in a way that bypasses Washington, D.C. Under Article 5, when state legislatures in at least 34 states call a convention of states and propose amendments, the Constitution can be amended after ratification by 38 states. Our founders intended for it to be very difficult to amend the Constitution by way of D.C. or by way of the states. So in 2014, state legislatures began to pass an identical Convention of States resolution that has now been passed by 19 states. Texas passed it in 2017, but I'm not sure if you know, but it's going to expire in 2025. We need to keep it as a legislative priority so that it doesn't expire. Those that are in opposition are afraid of a possible runaway convention, but Convention of States supporters are more afraid of our existing and very real runaway federal government. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And are there any questions? All right. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Michael will log you in when he gets back. Next is Mary Castle.
Good afternoon. Mary Elizabeth Castle from SD14. I'm also the Director of Government Relations for Texas Values. I'm here just to plead with you on what priority should be put at the top of the list, and I believe that with great eminence, we should put 3 specific issues at the top of the list, that being school choice, banning casino, gambling, and sports betting, and of course the gender and sexuality plank. First of all, with the gender and sexuality plank, 2017 was a really long time ago, and that was our attempt of trying in our state to make sure that women are protected in restrooms. We still do not have a law that protects women in restrooms, dressing rooms, locker rooms. A man of any sort can identify as a woman and go into the restroom, as he does every session at the Capitol. So we need to make sure that women are protected. We also need to make sure that our kids are protected at school. And so with this gender and sexuality plank, I'm hoping that it is broad enough to cover all the gender identity issues that we see, especially with what's happening with the Biden administration at the federal level. Also, making sure that we're banning casino gambling. We know that there's an imminent threat to have that spread and advance in our state, so making sure that's a top priority. And then, of course, school choice, since we are trying to pass that legislation for a second time this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And are there any questions? All right. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll log you in over here for your testimony. Next is Aileen Bulkowski.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Aileen Blakowski, and I am a delegate from SD30. I work with Texas Education 911, and we represent parents when they have issues in public school when their children are harmed. If you want to stop the grooming, if you want to stop the law disobeying, and you want to stop the shenanigans that are going on in public schools, like one of your delegates asks, what's the one thing you could do? You would pass an inspector general and put it in the priority to hold schools accountable. Right now in the state of Texas, we have parents across the state who are reaching out to us continually. You heard the testimony of people before me. Children are actually molesting other children in schools. Adults are molesting our kids. The gender and sexualization issues are abounding everywhere, whether it's in the content or it's in the actions of the people inside the schools. We spent $1.1 billion on school safety in the last legislative session, and we left the kids locked inside the doors with the pedophiles. What are we doing, Texas? We must combine these issues. Our groups are willing to combine these issues to ensure that an inspector general, a waiver of immunity from lawsuit for those school employees who do abuse children, and that these issues under sexualization and gender ideology get stuck together in one platform so that we can get this priority passed, so we can clean up our schools. Because no matter what happens in the school choice debate, 80% of Texas school kids are going to be in public schools, and these problems are occurring on our tax dollars. It is our responsibility. We're paying the pedophiles to molest our children. One more day, one more child victim. Not okay.
All right. And next is Jennifer Fleck.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Fleck. I'm a delegate in SD 25. I'm also the temporary SD caucus chair this session. I live in Lake Travis ISD. I have testified many times at board meetings and read from the books that are being given out to elementary school kids, and have been asked to either stop testifying or be removed from the board meetings. So this is a problem. We are aware of the wording that you guys have already the rough wording that's in the platform or the priority. So we've added to it. We have the language. It begins, stop grooming of minors by prohibiting taxpayer funding to any entity that permits presentation or encouragement of sexuality, pornography, or transgender ideology to minor children. Repeal Kinsey-based laws such as removing the affirmative defenses as to obscenity and redefine harmful materials in the Texas Penal Code. Establish an education inspector general to enforce the laws, and remove immunities or protections from school districts and personnel who participate in the sexualization of our children and physically or sexually abuse children. That would be the complete priority. Thank you.
Thank you. And Spencer Rolsman.
Just a quick ask, can you please email that to us, because I really would love to be able to get everything that you just listed.
Yep, will do. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. And come this way so we can.
Name and topic on that sheet.
What name?
Mike Carter.
All right, Mike Carter.
Thank you, everybody. I know it's a long day, and we had a chance to testify a little bit yesterday, and thank you for making transactional gold and silver one of the top priorities out there. I see it's ranked pretty highly right now, and I appreciate that. And I also recognize all the important bills that everybody else is talking about. What I want to emphasize as we kind of finalize what this top tally looks like is the importance of this legislation. And specifically, if we don't have economic freedom, if we don't have economic liberty, nothing else really matters out there. The dollar is at risk. We're seeing the BRIC nations. We're seeing record debt out there, and inflation continues everywhere we go out there. I'm saying that I might get it under control next year at some point. This is another way to pay. It's a natural hedge against inflation. But most importantly, I think, if all of a sudden we're forced to go to a CBDC, Texans need to have another chance. And we have an opportunity to get that done this year with the bullion depositor. It's already there by simply attaching a debit card to it, where you can spend gold and silver and where you spend a debit card. As I looked at the platform that was up there and the priorities, I wish it was still up, but I saw eliminate school property taxes. I saw harden the grid. I saw ban casinos. What I want to say is there's billions of swipes on a card. Texas could get revenue from that to address a lot of those other priorities, and this needs to be a top 8. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you could, sir.
Log in.
Questions? Okay.
I don't see any questions. Next step is Linnea Hartunian.
Good afternoon. My name is Linnea Hartunian. I want to thank you for all you've done, and I'm from SD 30, all your time here. And I'm going to make this very brief and quick. I have triplets who last year were in Frisco ISD. We came here in 2019, before the COVID, and the experience that I had with my children in the school was, because we came from California, I had high expectations, but I saw that Texas schools were not, they were actually teaching the things that I thought were not being taught here. So gender ideology is a big one for me, and having triplets, I see it triple time. I see a son who comes home and says, I don't want to give a pronoun. I see a daughter who comes home and says, about removing her breasts, ask me about that. Now, another daughter who says, I will not go back after COVID to the public schools in Texas. School choice, we have the freedom right now. That, I could pull all 3 of my students out one by one, pluck them out of the system, and put them into online school, private school, or homeschool. And that's what I did. And if we were to do this with school choice right now, we would have the government following those children. They were not followed. All I had to do was sign them off and give the information that they were going to be doing this schooling, and nobody tracked them, and they were free. Thank you. Give school freedom, no school choice.
This way, ma'am.
All right, Deborah Levi. Deborah Leva.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your opportunity. My name is Deborah Leva. I'm from SD 30. Delegate here. I am coming here to speak on election reform. The current election code, section 42.002, requires that the county precincts are aligned with any primary election and any countywide election ordered by the Commissioner's Court, county judge, or other county authority. However, what we don't know, or at least I didn't know, and a lot of people don't know, that in all these precincts, there are sub-precincts, sometimes up to 20 different precincts. And when I ran as a candidate in this last election, I specifically asked the town and the election office where my district was. And when that happened, I worked my area. I lost by 35 points, and that's not the issue. While it is an issue, the issue is most people don't know. We wonder why we don't get voters out, and we need to align all the municipals, all the school districts, and all the water districts, and whatever district there is out there, aligned with the correct precinct, so that people at least have an opportunity to get out and vote for the people that they think they're voting for, not what they thought they were voting for. And so we need to change this code. I believe you all have a copy. If you don't, I'm happy to provide it for you. Thank you very much for your time. We need to get voters out. The only way we're going to do that is to change what is written before us. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
This way. Well, we're just going to log in testimony, and then you can go grab it. And that concludes public testimony for the Temporary Legislative Priorities Committee. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time. I'm actually going to add up and make part of the report tomorrow the amount of time and the number of people who we heard from, but it's definitely, I think it's had an impact on our thoughts as well. Robert.
Point of information, is
Yes.
it the chair's intention to take a break, or do we want to move straight to?
I think we need to go straight on to 4 o'clock because we will stop at 4 o'clock.
So with that, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
So I'd like to make a motion that we limit debate on any motion related to legislative priority language and titles to 3 for, 3 against, on an alternating basis for a period of 2 minutes each.
Okay, a motion has been made to limit debate to three recognitions for, 3 recognitions against, for 2 minutes each on motions relating to titles and wording.
Seconded.
All right, that has been seconded by Brady Gray. Is there any debate on that motion? Dr. Malati.
I think we need a little more flexibility because we were told that we were at this point going to be really talking about the wording, and there are certain topics that are very important that might need more conversation than that.
Yes. Okay. So that's. I would point out that this would be a standing rule, and so it could be suspended by a majority vote. So if we do run into a topic where we need more debate and discussion, then the rule could be suspended. Yes.
I thought you have discretion anyway with the discussion. So
Not when we have a standing rule.
No, I mean, but that's why I'm arguing against the standing order.
Yeah. Robert.
We're a legislative deliberative body.
Okay, I recognize Robert.
Oh, okay, well, you pointed at me.
Yeah.
Okay. So just real brief, we're running out of time. We still have 13 priorities in which we need to perfect the language. Now, looking at the time frame here, we only have about an hour and a half until break, and then from there, once we take our, I assume it's going to be our dinner break, we only have until 11 to finish everything. So I want to make sure that we set a clear standard upon which any additional motions, whether they be main motions or amendments, that we have that standard in place so that we follow the procedure, get through these perfecting languages so we can finish our work.
Spencer.
Point of information.
Yes.
Is there a hard stop at 4 o'clock, or that is our preference, so that way we can start going to other events and SREC meetings?
So let me pull up the schedule. Yeah, we're not going to be done at 4 o'clock, I mean, obviously. But let me pull up the schedule. Get there in just a sec. Yeah, I mean that's the main roadblock. Is so at 4 p.m. We have the SREC pre-convention meeting that a lot of people, including me, will have to go to, and that lasts until 5 o'clock. I've actually never been to one of those before, so I don't know if those tend to flow over schedule or anything. At 6 to 7 o'clock, we have mandatory SC caucus chair training. Are any of you Senate District Caucus chairs? All right. At 7 o'clock, we have mandatory CD caucus chair training. Are any of you CD Congressional District Caucus chairs? Okay, well, that makes that easy. And then we also have Sergeant Arms training if people have to do that. So the big roadblock is the SREC pre-convention meeting. That's from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
Dinner at that time?
That's what I'm thinking, is we could make 4 o'clock to maybe 5:30 our dinner break, and then we would come back in at 5:30. However, we have the room until 11 o'clock, but we still, I mean, after we're done, at least we will have to put together our actual reports for the floor. So that is going to take a little time. But Robert.
Point of information.
Yes.
So once we get through all of the perfecting language and complete our list, do we still have to do a survey to order the list of legislative priorities?
Yes.
And when would that have to be completed?
We don't have to do a survey, but we do need to come up with some way of ranking them. And that is another task that we have ahead of us. So there is the language of the text, there's the titles, and then there's the order. Janeria.
Right. So I understand the shortage of time here. I also feel like we were kind of rushed and that we didn't have a lot of time. I think that by calling for a rule and then frequently suspending, that's not going to be good. I just ask that if the board could be more cognizant of how long we're speaking and maybe not getting into the weeds would be a better solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick.
We're supposed to be a deliberative body, and this is yet another motion to quell that. For example, should I make a motion to prevent him from making further motions of dilatory nature? This also removes the ability of the chair to simply say, let's move along. I oppose the motion.
Have that ability. Okay, question has been called. So we'll now vote on setting a standing rule limiting to debate to 3 recognitions for, 3 recognitions against, with up to 2 minutes per recognition on
Point of information.
Point.
I'm sorry if I didn't catch it. Was it alternating? And
Yes.
if there's not someone to speak on the opposite side, then debate ceases at 1
Yes,
or 2?
then the chair would the chair would deem debate one-sided, and we would move immediately into a vote. Now, all in favor of? Okay, is there any objection to moving to a vote on the rule? All right, there was no objection. So all in favor of adopting the standing rule, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Chair calls his own division. All in favor, please raise your hands high. Me, the chair of the committee. The chair calls his own division, meaning I'm asking you to raise your hands. Yeah. Okay. Raise your hands if you're for. All opposed? All right, that's 17. So the motion fails. So we will now we'll go into. Yes, Michael.
Can you hear me? Just point of personal privilege here for y'all's edification. If you look on consolidate and confirm those both sheets, you'll see another column over here called proposed language. This is language that we've received either through testimony or from subject experts, where most of our current language has come from. So I just ask that y'all look into that when you think, okay, we need to start combining or add something. Look at that, because that's been requested quite a few times in emails.
Chrissy. Yeah, that's a great idea. No, what you do is you wrap the text so the box expands so you can read the whole thing.
I have a question.
Yes.
I believe we were previously told that if we wanted to substitute language, we couldn't do that. We had to do it piecemeal and change sentence by sentence.
That's correct. You don't have to change sentence by sentence, but you do have to. You have to be modifying the old language. You can't just wholesale replace it. Not with an amendment.
That's going to make things take longer, because I think there's a couple, there's a couple priorities where we already have language I think everyone will agree on. It would be an easy switch. But no, I mean, I'm happy to try it.
I think if it's substantially the same and we can tell what the changes are, that's fine. If it is completely different, then someone can call a point of order.
Okay.
Brady.
I have 2 points of information. One is that on our temporary report, did we finish the eliminate school property taxes? Should that be added over there? I'm just checking on. Do we vote? Do we take a vote on that?
We voted on everything but the title. Yes.
Okay. And then my second question would be on the we're talking about replacing language when we get to those bottom 4, the consolidated ones. On those, obviously we don't have set language. We're going to be able to put forward a complete set of language there?
If you have suggested language for that area, then please. I know you've sent it to me. I mean, I know what you're asking.
Making sure on that, because that's
we can do that. And Michael, I believe you already have the language that that Brady sent in here, right? The sexualization, gender ideology. Okay, I'll forward you something. But let's go ahead and get started with with our
I
next
have-
item, which is taxpayer-funded. Okay, go ahead, Donna.
I'd like to ask the committee if it'd be okay if I said a short prayer.
Sure, absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for everyone here. Thank you for the state and the freedoms that we enjoy, Lord. I just ask that we are able to work together to glorify you and ask your Holy Spirit to be involved and direct us in our decision making. It's in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Any further points before we go into our next item? All right, taxpayer-funded lobbying. Here is the language. I don't think that's a yeah. All right. So the language we currently have: abolish all forms of taxpayer-funded lobbying, including using tax dollars to hire lobbyists or paying tax dollars to associations that lobby the legislature. Hans.
Motion to approve the language.
Okay, that motion has been made. I would like to, and that has been seconded. I'd like to make a quick amendment, which hopefully should be able to be adopted without objection, to change using to the use of, and paying to payment of.
Yeah.
Any objection? All right.
Not to this.
Okay, with no objection, that change is made. Huh?
I objected.
Oh, you objected? Okay.
Fine the way it was.
All right. I'll do it as a motion then. Is there a second?
Yes. Chair
All right.
doesn't make motions.
So moved.
Okay, it has been moved by Rolando Garcia, seconded by Brady Gray. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor of this change say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right, that passes.
Point
Jeff,
of information.
State your point.
You read it out, including instead of using, to replace with the use of. So as
Yeah.
this reads, lobbying using the use of.
Good catch. You're right. Including will stay. It's using that goes away. Yep. All right, Jeff, you're flying blind here. I know, we lost our projector.
Wait till we get that back. But one key thing, and I guess this would be a motion to amend for to make this clear, because lobbyist in this case refers to, in this practice of taxpayer-funded lobbying, is referring to like outside lobbyists. If you have a person, like having a person from a school board who is an employee go and talk to legislators is allowed under every form of taxpayer-funded lobbying that people have talked about.
Yes.
But that should be clear that we're talking about non-employee outside, like third-party lobbyists. So I will make the actual language once he pulls it back up and I can see it.
I think there's third-party lobbyists, but it would also be a little bit more expansive than that, because there are some bigger institutions. I don't think it's common with school districts, but except
or associations
the really big ones.
that they join is also part of that. Yeah.
But there are like the city of Houston, for instance, has an entire lobbying staff. We pay them $750,000 a year. Like a lot of the public universities and places like that, they have professional lobbyists on staff, and so we would be against that. Like spending tax dollars to hire lobbyists. I think that is something we'd be opposed to, right? Yes.
Okay, if you're including those folks in that, that's fine.
Rick?
I just want to make that clear.
Quick comment.
Yes.
The Texas Municipal League is one of the biggest offenders.
Absolutely. Christy.
I propose amendment that it does not apply to elected officials, which school board members would be elected officials, as well as local county elected officials would still be able to petition their legislators.
So you've made your amendment. Is there a second? Okay, I don't hear a second. I'll speak to it quickly, though. as a school board member myself, I know well. School board members are not hired by the entities that, I'm not an employee of my school district, and so this wouldn't apply to me. And actually, that came up with me. I went to the Capitol to testify against taxpayer-funded lobbying, and someone filed a grievance against me in my school district, but it didn't go anywhere because I wasn't speaking on behalf of the school district. So I was just in my individual capacity. So nothing, even under this law, nothing would stop, and it would actually, we would encourage elected officials representing their communities to go and testify to the legislature on behalf of their communities about what affects their school districts and cities. Right, but they're not lobbyists. Yeah. Julie.
I'd like to amend the word abolish to prohibit.
Point of order.
Say your point.
The motion that was made was to accept the language. The changes that you made were in line with like adding a comma or a period. What didn't change the meaning?
Well,
and so isn't the original question on accepting?
So the original question is on accepting the language, but this is an amendment to the language. So your motion was necessary to give us a main motion as a framework for debate, and at the end of this, it will pass, hopefully. But amendments are in order and as part of that. So the motion that was made was to change abolish to prohibit. Is there a second for that? All right, that motion has been made and seconded. Can you speak to your motion? Rolando.
I don't care, either one is fine, but we are not following what we just said we would do to start nitpicking over words, right? We all said, oh, we don't need a rule, we'll be good, we'll discipline ourselves. All right, we're already not doing that. I really wish, I mean, nothing against, I understand wanting to improve that word, but if we proceed at this rate on the easiest priority, this is the easiest priority, we are never going to get it done.
All right, any further discussion? Robert, I heard call the question.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All in favor of moving to a vote on this, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right. All in favor of changing the word abolish to prohibit, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
That's close.
Point of information.
Say your point.
What was the motion again? I'm sorry.
The motion is to change the word abolish to prohibit. Okay, we'll do a raise hands vote, and again, raise them high. All in favor of changing the word, say aye. Oh, or raise your hands. Yeah.
It's good legal language. That's all. Prohibit.
All right, that's 17. That's a majority. It passes.
Yeah, I just think
all
it's
right.
a cleaner legal.
Okay, so the new word is prohibit. Any other motions on this language? All right, seeing none, we'll now, any other discussion on this main motion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote. All in favor of adopting this language as the text for the taxpayer-funded lobbying priority, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. That passes. All right, is there a motion on hardening the electric grid?
Oh, I make the motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, we'll get there. So, do you want, so you can make a main motion that is, how about this? You can make a main motion that is the substitute language if that's what you want to do.
Right.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Okay, make your motion.
I make the motion to utilize right now as a starting point the substitute language provided to us by Senator Bob Hall.
All right, and that has been seconded by Rick Briscoe. And let's get that language up on the screen.
Point of information.
State your point.
So we can replace what's there, what we started with in its entirety with another proposed pastor or no?
So what you can do is when we get to an item, if there is, basically a motion has to be made for basic language before we can start discussing the back and forth and the amendments and all that. Once we have a main motion that is made, You can't make an amendment that is just, I move to amend this with a wholesale replacement of the language.
Point of order.
State your point.
You can indeed substitute language. The only prohibition is you may not amend something that is for whatever subject to something against that subject. It's done all the time.
Okay, that is well taken. Anyway, do we have the language up? All right. So I think you want substitute with secure the integrity of Texas Electric. Is that the language we want?
This is the one Senator Bob Hall brought us?
It's
The one in orange, not that one.
Okay, go. Okay, go to your confirmed tab, and column D. It's actually one up. It's not under harden the electric grid. Yep. Okay, so we have a main motion. It is secure the integrity of Texas electric energy production and delivery with abundant, reliable, and resilient energy. Ensure that the Texas grid can withstand any natural or man-made threat to include weather, cyber, physical, electromagnetic pulse, and geomagnetic disturbances. So I would like to entertain a motion. First of all, I think there are a couple of things that we might need to fix here. The first motion I'd like to entertain is an amendment to change this into one sentence by after the word energy in the second line, changing that to a period and saying by ensuring that the Texas grid. No comma. No period. Just by ensuring. Yep. All right. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll amend myself.
All right. That motion has been made by Genera. That has been seconded. Is there any date on this motion? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay. Next, I think we need to find a better action word for ensuring. So what are we asking, and this is where we have to think a little bit. What are we actually asking the legislature to do?
I think the legislature gets the message. We're nitpicking this.
What we're telling them is that this is important. What we're not telling them is what we want them to do about it. So I'll go to Dan and then Jeff.
Why don't we use the word fortify, which is what we're asking for, is for them to fortify the Texas grid.
Okay, so would your motion be changing the word by fortifying, take out that, the Texas grid, so it will withstand? Yeah, or to withstand?
Yes. Just the word they're ensuring, change it to fortify.
Well, you have to change a few other things.
Why don't you change it to guarantee?
Because the legislature can't guarantee anything. Yeah. So I mean, we need to be careful about this because this is something that is supposed to be achieved at the end of the legislative session. So the legislature is not going to fortify the grid by itself. The legislature is not going to guarantee the grid by itself. What is the legislature going to do?
They're going to make it fund the fortification.
Yeah, providing adequate funding. How many different motions have we got on the floor?
Okay, we don't have any motion. Well, that is a motion that has just been made. Is there a second?
There's a prior motion.
Okay, this is an amendment to the main motion.
No, there's an amendment to the motion, and now an amendment to the amendment.
No, no amendment has been made to the motion yet. Okay.
And why are the letters highlighted?
Because she has made an amendment. Is it seconded? All right, seconded by Spencer Rolsman. Now we have an amendment. Is there any debate on changing the word ensuring to so that? Rick?
Senator Hall studied this subject a very long time. I'm prepared to take his words at it.
Peyton?
Is it only against or for? What I'm saying is that I think there are better words than that. I mean, you could say by limiting the reliance on intermittent energy supplies to no more than, say, 75% of the overcapacity margin. That would solve the problem.
It's two different things.
Yeah, that's a different question. Janera?
Right up there, none of that reads correctly. I thought we were on fortifying, funding the fortification of the Texas grid so that it can, is that where the so that goes? I'm not sure what I'm looking at. It says by ensuring that.
Her motion would kind of flip around the structure of the sentence where the action on the legislature would be secure. And then achieving the Texas grid can withstand is the result of securing it.
Call the question.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, who is that?
Very quickly, back here.
Yes.
We also need to strike the word by in front of ensuring, but otherwise it's not going to make grammatical sense.
Yes, that's well taken. All right. Is there any, okay, the question has been called on this amendment. Is there any objection to moving to a vote? All right.
My motion was to remove the word ensure. Okay. So you wanted to take out the period.
Yeah.
And change it to by ensuring that. I wanted to change it to take out the period, put a comma, and put so that the Texas grid can withstand. Take out the word ensure altogether.
Yes, it's still coming out.
It is.
Yeah, it's still coming out.
That's my mistake. I wish we'd strike through.
Yeah, my amendment,
Yeah, that's my
passed.
problem. I read it as a highlight.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's not updated for some reason. I can't
Okay.
see that as, I'm not that good at vision, sorry.
All right. We are about to move into, okay. Yeah, the question has been called. There was no objection to moving into a vote, so we will now move into a vote on this change. All in favor of this change, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, I think the nays have it. So we're back to ensuring. Okay, Jeff. Okay, Jeff was already recognized. Yes, he was. I recognize Jeff. Calling the question is not an interrupting motion. Jeff has been recognized.
Yes, just so reading this back, since we're back to insurance and on the main language, secure the integrity of the Texas electrical, I'm not changing anything here, but secure the integrity of the Texas electrical energy production and delivery with abundant, reliable, and resilient energy. Is that supposed to be of delivery of abundant, reliable, and resilient energy by ensuring that the Texas, because delivery with abundant, reliable, and resilient energy, am I just reading that incorrectly? That doesn't make sense to me?
That makes sense to me.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just like.
Okay, so do you want to make that amendment?
I would like to make that amendment,
Okay,
yes.
is there a second? Second. All right, that's been seconded. We're changing the word with to of. So delivery of abundant, reliable, and resilient energy. All right. Is there any further discussion on that item? Or on that
No, on
amendment?
that item, I want to do another thing, but I want to after we resolve this.
Okay.
Not stack motions.
All right. Is there any further debate on this change? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, Janera, and then back to Jeff.
Okay, I'd like to amend the language, resilient energy.
Okay.
By.
You haven't been recognized. Janera's
I'm sorry.
recognized. You were recognized, not the interrupting motion. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hello. Where I lost it. Where is it? Okay, reliable and resilient energy by funding the fortification of. Fortification of, and then cross out, ensuring that.
And then would you change the word can to to?
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. So that, yeah. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that has been seconded. Is there any debate on this amendment?
Yes.
Okay, we'll start with Dr. Malati, then go to Rick, then go to Jeff.
Just a quick question about this. We're talking about funding, but could they not also have some regulation? You know, that could be a part of the way of doing this.
So they could. I think that's why we need to be very careful about what we're asking for. Are we
That's
asking
why
for,
I'm bringing it up.
because that's also how we define success. The way this is written, if hardening the grid is in the budget, priority achieved, right? Because they have funded it like we asked them to. But if you say regulating the grid or funding and regulations, then that could be a different qualification for achieving it. Rick.
This is contrary to what Senator Hall wanted. He wanted private or public organizations such as CPS here in San Antonio to accomplish it themselves. The purpose of this is for the legislature to establish the standards and timelines for accomplishing them, not to spend money at the state level.
Okay, so we will handle this motion. If this language doesn't pass, would you offer an amendment that would say by establishing standards for the Texas grid?
I would not, because Senator Hall knows what he needs in order to move a bill in the Senate. And the language he suggested, he believes is perfectly adequate, and I agree with him.
Okay, Jeff. Okay, other Jeff. Okay. All right, this Jeff.
Okay. I don't want to amend an amendment to this amendment, but like achieving what you were talking about as well, Rick, and keeping Senator Hall's language could be done by reliable and resilient energy, comma, remove by, and just going straight to ensuring that the Texas grid can withstand any natural or man-made threat.
I'd like to withdraw my amendment.
Okay, so there's no such thing as withdrawing an amendment, actually, because when it's seconded, it becomes the property of the body. But if you'd like to call the question on your amendment so that it can be voted on.
Okay, I'd like to call the question on my amendment.
Okay, question
I
is
do
called.
not support.
Is there any further debate on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. All right, it fails. Jeff.
I would like to make a motion to remove by and replace it with a comma.
Okay, so that would read, I'm just going to read it out loud to make sure that makes sense. Secure the integrity of Texas electric energy production and delivery of abundant, reliable, and resilient energy, ensuring that the Texas grid can withstand any natural. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, is there a second? Second. All right, that's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, that passes. I would like to entertain one more amendment on this. Texas Electric Energy, all capitalized. Can we change that to something more generic? Like just, just say Texas Energy with a lowercase e, or electricity.
May I speak on the motion?
Yes.
Or is there a motion?
Can you make a motion? With
I will make a motion. I will make a motion to take out the word energy and make it electricity production, because energy production is often used to refer to oil and gas production.
Yeah, okay.
So.
All right. Is there a second on that motion? All right, that's been seconded. Okay. Any further discussion on this amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. All right, that passes. Are there any further amendments to be made to this language? Hearing none, we will move into a vote on the overall language, which is the main motion.
Just speaking against.
Okay.
So just real quick, I just want to mention this, just for the record. The language that is currently on view is pretty much the same language as it is in the 2022 permanent report. So I just want to stress that basically all we're doing is taking the 2022 report and making a couple minor word modifications, but it's essentially the same language. So I just want to make this committee known that if we do pass this, then all we're doing is just pushing this language forward as it was in 2022.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a final vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. And that finally passes. The next item is school choice. All right. Say your point.
We voted to swap it. I don't think we voted to accept it.
All right. So you're saying we had, now I think the substitute language that came from Bob Hall was originally moved. Yeah. Yeah, so the substitution, the substitute language was the main motion, and we just passed that.
Okay.
I thought we just did that, but we'll take one more vote if it makes everybody happy. Okay. All in favor of the final language, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it, and we will now move on to school choice.
Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to move the original language on school choice.
All right, Rolando Garcia has made a motion for the original language on school choice. Is there a second? That has been seconded by Brady Gray. And so let's go ahead and pull that up. That is it. All right, and we will now move into discussion on this item. I see Dr. Malati.
Just a quick thing. I know we had a lot of testimony on this, and I know there's a lot of controversy about it. I don't know if it will help to add without strings attached to this at the end.
Okay, so there's a problem with the phrase without strings attached. And I was kind of hoping to avoid going into this, and I think there's probably better language we can use to achieve the same thing. But during the last legislative session, the subcommittee handling school choice actually used that phrase without strings attached to lobby against school choice bills in the legislature. So, because they made the claim that absolutely any requirement on how the money is used at all was an unacceptable string. So we need to be very careful about how we phrase that protective language, because we do want to protect private schools and home schools against any regulation, but we don't want that to be used in bad faith as a way to argue against good legislation. So I think we need to just be careful about the language we use. The language that, I know if we go way back to our live document, I had some language that I wrote with funding, where we would say at the end, and I'll go ahead and entertain an amendment to do this.
So moved.
Okay, while protecting the autonomy of home schools and private schools.
Seconded. Can I speak to that?
Yeah, well, let's get it on the screen, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay.
It's in the priority submittals from SDs. Okay. While protecting the autonomy. Got it? All right. Let's get it on the screen, and then I'll recognize Rolando. Yep. Yeah, with a comma. All right, Rolando.
First of all, to expand on what Scott said about people using the no strings language in bad faith. It's much worse than what Scott said. They used the language no strings attached to argue that any requirement that ESAs couldn't be used to pay for abortions and big screen TVs was an unacceptable string. That is the cynicism and bad faith that certain people, not all, certain people who support the no strings attached language want to use it for. It is being abused. I would also note that, again, not all, but many of the people who say no strings attached, they will scream that any government money comes with strings attached, and then in the next breath, they will say, oh, but we have to attach the no strings attached language. What they're saying is, their position is they are opposed to ESAs in principle. They don't want to say that, but they are opposed to ESAs in principle. What most people, and I think most casual observers, when they hear the no strings attached, what they mean is they don't want the government dictating curriculum to homeschools and private schools, and absolutely agree. This language is closer to what most people, mean when they say no strings attached, protecting the autonomy of homeschools and private schools. This is what most people mean when they say no strings attached. There is a small minority who oppose ESAs in principle and hide behind no strings attached.
Brady.
I'm speaking for, so per rule, is there anybody speaking against?
Well, we're not operating under that rule, yes.
Okay.
Yet.
So I want, to echo what Rolando said, the no strings attached language is meant as a poison pill on this priority specifically because of how it is used. This language as we have it now in this amendment would genuinely protect homeschoolers and private schoolers by concept of the priority without causing us the issues that we have had in the past with that other language.
A point of information.
State your point.
I, in preparation for this very conversation, deferred to Senator Bob Hall on how he would best advise me. And he said that no extra money being paid to the school for losing the student, in other words, no compensation to the school, is a direct language about strings.
I don't really. Yeah, that's kind of a different issue. The issue of what happens with the school. So right now the way HB1 was structured is that the funding for school choice, like ESAs, and the funding for public schools are two completely different pools of funding. ESAs would come from the comptroller's office through a separate program, and then public schools would be funded per student like always. So the idea of losing a student to a school choice program wasn't, there may have been some kind of compensation in there for that, but it's not like that they would pull from two separate places. But anyway, I'll go to Johan and then Rick.
So just to orient, we're talking about adding the green text to
Yes.
the black text. Can I move to amend the green text?
Yes.
Can we add the words freedom and before autonomy?
Okay, is there a second on that? All right, that has been seconded. Would you like to speak to that?
I was homeschooled myself, and my wife was homeschooled, and we have two boys, and I am not a big fan of school choice because I am concerned that there are going to be people who do abuse it, and then that's going to be used as an excuse to add more regulations. I mean, there are going to be people, trying to pay for their big screen TVs and their abortions with whatever money they get, and then the government's going to say, hey, this is terrible, we've got to make sure to add more regulations and oversight, and I'm afraid that it's going to be a problem for the homeschool community and the private school community. So at the very least, I want to make sure that we're very clear about protecting the freedom of homeschools and private schools.
Okay, we'll go to Rick.
You'll forgive me for rounding off numbers. We've spent roughly $10,000 per student in education statewide. The proposal before the legislature last session included paying the departing school, that is the school they're leaving, between $3,000 and $4,000, leaving the student short when they go to the next school, be it public, private, or homeschooler. And insofar as strings attached, My personal idea of the only strings that should attach is that it be a living child of the appropriate age, not your pet dog, cat, or parrot, although I do have a puppy who could use some training.
Thank you. Donna.
Can I speak to what he was saying on the Freedom Edition?
Sure.
That too, again, Senator Hall said that any form of accountability to the state was unfettered. So testing, that's any kind of qualified testing, any info capturing or data collection, which I believe is all about freedom.
Thank you. We'll go with Jeff and then Janera.
Okay, so this is on the question of adding freedom and only.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to wait until after we resolve that to just to speak on the whole amendment to this. Sorry,
Okay.
I apologize.
Janera.
I'm sorry, I was going to make a motion, I withdraw.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the words freedom and? Peyton.
Well, I was really going to suggest, ask if you include with all this, removing the word "the" before funding, because there is a huge difference legally between, quote, funding and the funding when they go to work on this. I can explain it later, but that one, I would like to suggest you include with this whole thing, removing the.
All right. That's out of order right now, but we can address that later. Is there any further discussion on the highlighted text? You don't need to, because there's no further discussion. All in favor of adopting the highlighted text as part of the amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. That passes.
I have a motion.
Yes, make your motion, Rolando.
I would like to add all at the beginning.
Not yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's out of order. Right now, we're discussing the green text amendment. Is there any further discussion on the green text amendment, Jeff?
Yes. Okay, so this comes down to we've been kind of talking around this part of the question, so I just want to hit straight to it. When we're talking about strings, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. That when we're talking about strings being attached to school choice, right? If we have homeschoolers and we have folks going to private school who don't take the money, no strings. If you do take the money, the strings. Like there is no world in which we're handing out thousands and thousands of dollars in government money with no questions asked, right? So that's the question. Is that the question that we're going to, or are we asking no strings for people who take the money?
I think the problem is that string is a weasel word. Okay?
Yeah, it is a weasel word.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a weasel word. It means different things to different people depending on the argument you're making.
Right.
So reasonable people look at the word no strings attached and assume, okay, if a private school is accepting students who have education savings accounts, they don't have to change anything about how they're operating in order to do that. They don't have to change their curriculum. They don't have to adopt new testing or things they weren't doing already in order to qualify. Now, so I think that is what most people would assume. Same for homeschoolers if they're included in the program. However, the way this gets used in discourse within the Republican Party is that a string is absolutely any accountability whatsoever. Like literally even the requirement that you spend it on anything education related. And again, going back to that meeting clip where the subcommittee was talking about this, it was brought up by one of the members of that subcommittee that there was a different state where a program truly was unlimited, and someone took their money and spent it on an abortion. And a member of that subcommittee literally said in response, "Sounds like freedom to me." That individual is one of the people who testified against school choice before this committee this week. So we need to be very careful about, that's why the word string is kind of dangerous here, because what it means to real people and what it means to activists is different. And so it creates ambiguity that is then used as a poison pill. Spencer.
Right, so this was my motion here would be to on the main thing. Sorry, this is what I was trying to. But as I was making the motion, to make sure I understood that first.
Okay.
Because my motion would be to amend this language by to add to the end who do not accept the funding, because that's the question. And there is no if you're accepting funds from the government, there are requirements that come with it. If you're not taking the funds, homeschoolers right now who just don't take the funds, there's no funds to take, have this level of autonomy. If they're still not taking government funds after school choice comes in, nothing should change for them. But there is a different question when you are accepting government funding to take outside of the system.
Is there a, okay, so is there a second on this amendment? See, who seconded? No. Okay, Donna seconded. Okay, is there any debate on this, Rolando?
I would rather this language not be adopted because we do, I mean, yes, obviously people have the choice not to accept the funding. So if they're paranoid that it will come with unacceptable strings, they have the choice just not to take the funding. However, we also want to be clear that even private schools who do take that funding, they will not have their, they're not going to have, the government isn't going to be, dictating the curricula. Now, right, and now obviously when we talk about autonomy versus strings, obviously we need some regulation, like saying, well, ESAs can only be spent on education.
You have to be a school.
Right, you have to be a school. You can't spend it on a vacation or something. But other than that, we're not going to be imposing curriculum, and that's what we mean by protecting freedom and autonomy. So we're protecting the autonomy not just of those who don't accept the funding, although obviously they will keep their autonomy. We're protecting the autonomy of those, even of those who accept the funding.
All right, Spencer, then Genera.
So I just wanted to clarify, because now it's been said twice, there's no such thing as government money, it's taxpayer money. So I would really love for us to stop referring to as people taking government money. It's not in the wording, but it's been said twice by the person that made this motion. There is no such thing as government money, it is taxpayer money.
All right, Genera.
Yeah, I just want to make a point here.
That you want to take taxpayer money,
sorry,
that's even more egregious. Thank you.
Genera.
Okay, so I just want to say that we are arguing about strings and public versus private versus homeschooling. The reason people want school choice is because their kids are in a cruddy public school. If you are a homeschooler or you private school, you're not getting funds from anybody. The funds don't need to follow your child if you are homeschooled or if you are publicly schooled. So when it's time, we should probably just allow school choice for people whose children are in public schools and will remain in public schools. Well, like when you pull them out for homeschool is what I mean.
Paul.
Thank you. Paul Yamrick, SD 18. Are we saying that there could be a possibility of mandating that I have to take money? Because who do not accept the funding? That means that there may be a mandate to say I have to take, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. So I'm not speaking in favor of this. I think it needs to be struck.
Rick.
The way I'm reading that, it also has the effect of relieving homeschoolers who do take the money from protection, which would be an undesirable result.
Yeah, that's how I read this language too, is this would have the effect of allowing, not protecting the freedom and autonomy of homeschools and private schools who do accept funding. But we do want to protect their autonomy.
Call the question on this moment.
Yeah, all right, question has been called. Is there any objection to moving to a vote? Seeing none, all in favor of the highlighted language only, say aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, we are back to
Call the question on
the green. Okay. The question has been called on the section in green.
So you said earlier you'd hear the issue I've raised on the word "the" before funding. You told me you'd do that.
That's outside the green text. We are only within the green text.
Mr. Administrative matter, I think we might want to remove the hyphen and period before the word "while."
That's not a hyphen and period. That's a struck out period.
Oh. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you again for the clarification.
All right. Is there any other debate on the green text? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the text in green, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
I have a motion.
All right.
I would like to add all at the very beginning of the priority. All Texas parents and guardians should have the right to select schools. It's a pretty subtle change, but it will.
This needs to be seconded. Sorry, is there a second? All right, that has been seconded.
Yeah. It's a really subtle change, and probably most people already assume that that's what the priority implies. But we do want to be clear with our legislators that we want this available to all. There's that some of them want to. Well, we just want to restrict it to urban areas, or only students of a certain income level. We're just making clear what is implicit in the priority.
All right, Paul.
Yes, Paul Yamrick, SD 18. I would speak in favor of this. I don't think it's subtle. I think we're talking about universal school choice. So this is very clear that it's universal. So I would speak in favor of this. Thank you.
All right, is there any further debate on this addition? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Johan.
I'd like to make a motion to strike and the funding should follow the student.
All right, a motion has been made to strike and the funding shall follow the student. Is there a second? I'll second. All right, that has been seconded. Could you speak to your motion?
I think it's very understandable for children and parents with children in a public school to want to have school choice of taking their children to a different school that isn't failing and not being bound to a failing school. But I think when the government is taking your money and redistributing it and then handing out money, I think that's redistribution of wealth. That is socialism. That's not what we're supposed to be supporting. And I'm all for educational freedom, parents having that choice, but I don't think that the government should be funding it in any way.
All right, Rick, and then Brady, and then Rolando.
A historically failing high school in San Antonio is Breckenridge. If a parent there wants to transfer their child to John C. Marshall in a different school district, and John C. Marshall receives no funding, how does that benefit the child, the school system, or the state?
Brady.
If the concern is that funding following the student is a form of socialism and a redistribution, then we already have that under the public school system, and this is a way to level the playing field for everyone else.
Actually, we have a constitutional obligation to provide a system of free public education.
Efficient.
Thank you. Yep. Rolando.
Yes, to expand on what Brady is saying, what this amendment suggests is that public school spending, I don't know what the $12,000 or $15,000 or whatever it is per pupil, $14,400 per pupil in public schools, that's not socialism. But giving a fraction of that to families to use on their own, that's socialism. Okay? Yeah. But I do thank the person who proposed this for being honest, that they simply oppose the principle of ESAs and money following the student. Most opponents of school choice are not that honest about their opposition. But that's what it basically guts the entire principle of school choice. And so that's what I would oppose this amendment. But I do appreciate him being honest.
All right. Peyton.
Well, the reality is, under the Texas laws, funding does follow the student because they fund each school on the basis of enrollment. So if a kid leaves one school and goes to another, the amount where he was goes down and the new school goes up because they got a new student.
All right. Is there any further discussion on this amendment? Don't need to, because there's no further discussion. Yeah, I know. Isn't that great? We'll now move into a vote. All in favor of striking that language, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, that fails. Is there? All right, question has been called on.
You promised me, Scott.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get to Peyton really fast. All right. So your amendment is to strike the word "the" between
the word
and
"the"
funding?
because there's a profound difference when they get to arguing about this of the implications of the funding versus funding. Funding simply means they will have to find, there will be some funding following, but they'll have to decide what the appropriate amounts are. Because, for example, if it's going to homeschools, the reality is these kids end up coming back to the schools to use the facilities, and those facilities have to be paid for. So they're going to be saying, they're going to have to figure out what kind of ratios go. You need to give them the flexibility, and the other one doesn't seem to do that.
All right, so that motion was made. Is there a second? All right, that has been seconded. I will count that as your debate in speaking to the motion. Is there any further discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. That amendment passes. The question has been called.
Mr. Chairman, I had a motion and had my hand up before. People were just yelling out.
Okay.
It's very brief, and I'm just keeping in line with what's already.
All right. What is your motion?
So where it says whether public or private, I think we also need to add or homeschool, because we reference homeschools down below. So we're saying that parents have the right to select schools, whether public, private, or homeschool. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So the amendment would change that to say whether public, private, or homeschool. All right, and that has been seconded. And you did speak to it. Is there any other debate on that amendment? Johan.
Homeschooled are considered private schools.
That is true. Donna.
I don't know. I was going to make a motion at the end, changing from the freedom and autonomy of the student.
Okay, that's not in order. Christy.
Although a homeschool is a private school, I think this would provide clarification for the delegates and for the voters. You know, the legislators probably already know that, but the average person, voter may not.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, can we... All right. All right. Is everyone clear on what we're voting on? Okay. All right. Public. It's going to be public, private, or homeschool. All one word, right? Yep.
Mike, we've learned that you are irreplaceable.
He's got it running right.
Yes, all one word. Homeschool, no ED. Yep. That's correct, right? All right. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, that passes. Yes. Yeah, without objection. There was no objection. Okay. We've now called the question. All in favor of moving to a final vote on this item, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. We will now go to our final vote. All in favor of this language, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right. The language passes. It is 3:41. I think we've got time for a couple more before 4 o'clock. All right. Do you think we can get through casino gambling and sports betting?
I'll make a motion.
All right.
I'll make a motion. We adopt the language as presented.
Second.
All right. Motion has been made and seconded to bring up preserving the constitutional ban on casino gambling and sports.
I have a motion.
State your motion.
The motion is to strike it in its entirety.
That's out of order.
I don't think so.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Appeal of the decision of the chair.
Okay. An appeal has been made to this. I have ruled that it is out of order to strike the provision in its entirety, because an amendment that strikes something in its entirety has the same effect as just voting no, and so that's out of order under Robert's rules. That's my ruling.
May I be heard?
Yes, you've made an appeal, so you may speak to your appeal.
The point of striking it is we already have a constitutional amendment that does this. This is a wasted motion.
Okay, you're out of order because you were supposed to be speaking to the ruling of the chair that what you're doing is out of order. So can you speak to that?
This is not a final bill.
Okay. All right, we'll now move into a vote on whether to sustain the ruling that that's out of order, or to agree with Mr. Briscoe that it is in order to make a motion to strike that in its entirety. Is there any further debate? Hearing none, Okay, if you vote yes, he's out of order. If you vote no, you're allowing him to make that motion. All in favor of sustaining the decision, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, that passes. So your motion is out of order. I will entertain a motion to change the word preserving to the word preserve.
Seconded.
All right, that has been seconded.
Sorry, motion to change it to preserve.
All right, and seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Preserve or preserved? It should just be preserved, not with no ed.
I think the word should be
It's not a grammatical sentence.
Preserve with an e. Yeah, sorry.
Scott, can you address the word betting in front? Might as well do it at one time because instead of doing it over and over, betting, it's not a complete sentence or accuracy.
Betting should be up with sports. It's just just wrapped.
All right, so the sentence would read, preserve the constitutional ban on casino gambling and sports betting. Is there any further discussion on this wording change?
Point of information.
Jeff.
Is it, I don't know if anybody knows this in here, this may be nitpicking, I'm sorry. Is it one ban or are they both banned separately? Is it constitutional ban or constitutional bans? That's, like I said, super nitpicky. I'm very sorry. Yeah, that's my question.
That actually is a good question.
It's a point of information on how it's banned in the Constitution rather than a motion, right? Yeah.
Spencer, you have your hand raised. Do you want to speak to that?
So there were two proposed constitutional amendments. So I would assume that there are two separate bans.
So I would make a motion.
Brady.
Well, I was just saying, yeah, I agree. Can we vote on preserve and then make a motion to add the S?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't realize yeah.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on preserve? All in favor of changing the word to preserve, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, that passes.
And then, amendment to change ban to bans.
Seconded.
All right. Is there any discussion on this? Rick?
On the amendment or the
Yes.
subject?
On the amendment.
No discussion on that.
All right. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Now we're back to the main motion. Are there any? Well, Rick,
The reason I oppose this, as I was explaining, is we already have these bans. We've got very limited number of legislative priorities. If we pass this, there are important matters that will not become a legislative priority. As has been explained before, it takes supermajorities in the House and Senate and then a vote of the people in order to make a constitutional change. And we've already got that. So what's the point of having a legislative priority that says, let's keep what we've got?
all right. I'm seeing a lot of hands going up. Brady.
Okay, so to explain this again, and I appreciate, I mean, Rick you've been consistent on this and the no Democrat chairs, and these two things are similar in nature in that they are important as legislative priorities because they are priorities that we are given to the legislature. The reason why this one is so important, and we've talked about this already, but over 100 lobbyists hired in the last session. We currently have the largest donor to all of these who has bought a controlling interest of a major entity in North Texas with the expressed intent to bring a casino here. On top of that, has spent a substantial amount of money just on our runoffs. $9 million in the runoffs, $1.5 million on an 8-day report, $6 million spent so far already. On top of all of those things, we saw this come up last session, and over 100 members of our Texas House voted to pass this. And it would have passed had we not had a strong lieutenant governor who was standing in its way. It is imperative that we as a body tell the legislature that that is not okay and that Dan Patrick should not be our only person standing in the way of this type of thing passing.
Just for your information, the figure I heard was that they hired 300 lobbyists, some of whom were
you were
hired
out of order. You have not gotten recognized. Janera.
Yes, of course, I second, or I agree with what he's saying up there, but also the part that people are leaving out is this is a built-in monopoly. Only a few people, this is supposed to be to our benefit, but it is not. Only a few people will be able to have a casino, they're calling it a resort, and they are going to block out the rest of us. We Texans go and spend our money in the casinos of the cartel and the Chinese, and we lose our money. Plus, when I was a young lady, I lived in Las Vegas very briefly, and as soon as you land at the airport, it is gambling signs everywhere, even if the casino is 1,000 miles away. And your children will automatically gravitate to the best paying job out there, and that will be bartending, working, stripping, and we had advertisements in Las Vegas all the time for dealing. You made a fortune, and you're stuck in this sleazy lifestyle for the rest of your life. Thank you.
All right. Dan Tully?
May I make a very brief comment?
No.
No, you're not recognized. We're going in order. Dan Tully.
Mike, my positive deal about this is this puts on notice to every elected official in the House of Representatives and in our state Senate. They vote for casino gambling of any kind and any deal. They are now going to be subject to Rule 44 that was just passed next door. By doing that, you put teeth in both of it. This is a poison pill to shut that down.
Jeff Russell.
Yeah, same comment there. It's all about censor.
All right. Rick, you're recognized.
Briefly, just for the record, I'd like to make clear that I am not opposed to the substance of opposing gambling. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this main motion?
Call the question.
It's not necessary because there's no further discussion. So keep doing that. I know. Okay, so since there's no further discussion, we'll move into a vote. All in favor of adopting this main motion and adopting this language, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. That passes. It is 3:50 p.m. I'm going to entertain a motion to recess the committee until 5:30 p.m. when we will reconvene here. We are not taking a break after that. This is your dinner time, unless you're an SREC member, and then you don't get dinner. So, sorry. But, okay, that has been moved?
No. Yes. So moved.
So moved, and that is it seconded? Yes. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. See you back here at 5:30.